Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier, and this is your Premier League preview, match week 24, kind of a midweek edition to it. Joining me tonight, as always, on the Upper Tier, Darren with these Premier League previews. How are we doing, Darren?
I'm all good, brother Niall. How are you, my friend?
Good. We're all refreshed now. AFCON out of the way. FIFA World Club Cup coming up. These tournaments don't seem to go away. Sure they don't.
They really don't, do they?
Absolutely. Well, listen, make sure you viewers are dropping your predictions down in the comments. As always, if you want to contact the show, we're on Twitter at @the_upper_tier. You'll also get us on Gmail, the Upper Tier Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the Upper Tier, as always. Let's get into this. Starts off Tuesday night, 7:45, Newcastle versus Everton. Very interesting match.
Very, very interesting game, I must say. With obviously with Frank just come in at Everton. Got a bit of a tune out of the lads at the weekend, the FA Cup. And Newcastle, obviously, at the end of the transfer window with all their new arrivals. I think this could be a great game, Noel, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. This is kind of like it's there's a sort of a feel of a little bit of relegation dogfight to it as well, isn't there? So
I don't know. I think there's a freshness. Like, this almost feels like it's the new season kicking off for both of these clubs. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Newcastle after their window. And Everton, obviously, with the shackles off after Rafa's being relieved of his duties type thing. Yeah. I think there'll be goals in this, if I'm honest. And I think, obviously, it's going to be difficult for Everton going away to St. James's Park. But, geez, I wouldn't be surprised to see them get something either, if I'm honest. Looking at the way they played at the weekend,
Yeah, this is the one. He's probably going to introduce the new boys, is he? Is this the one where Van der Beek gets a run and Dele Alli?
Yeah, well, I mean, they were cup tied for the weekend, so obviously now there's an opportunity for them to get back involved, I'd say, I don't think you'll see both of them straight away. I think that's too much upheaval, if I'm honest. I think you might see one of them start, and then maybe, you might see the second one introduced or something like that from the bench. But listen, if you're an Everton fan, it's great to have options all of a sudden,
Yeah, absolutely. What are you going for in this one?
I'm going to go score draw. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1. I'm thinking an Everton away win. I think the Lampard bump will continue, and I think he might throw the boys in at the deep end and say, here's your opportunity now, lads. You've been going on for 6 months about not getting game time, being out in the cold. Here's your opportunity now. Grasp it and see how it goes. I think he'll throw the boys in. I'm going to go for an Everton away win. I'm thinking around 2-1. Up next, West Ham versus Wofford. The battle of the W's down in London.
Yeah, I don't really think it's going to be a battle at all, do you?
I don't know. West Ham's form has been indifferent, hasn't it?
It's been a little bit patchy, but I've got to say, Watford are very, very poor, aren't they? Obviously the weekend they managed to keep a clean sheet, didn't they? Away at Burnley, and obviously with Roy in charge now, they look to play a different style of football. They'll be way more compact than they've ever been, and they'll try and pick up points by being solid and looking to nick goals on the counter attack and stuff like that. I just think West Ham are going to have too much for them, if I'm honest. I just think West Ham are due a little bit of a return to form. They're due to see a few lads hit their straps, and I think with Bowen and Ben Rama and Antonio and Declan Rice and Lanzini and stuff, I just think they'll have too much in the tank for them. And I think this will be a well-needed win for West Ham.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was kind of advantageous for a lot of the Premier League teams to come back to an FA Cup game, because they all looked more or less, with the exception of one or two, most of them looked rusty as hell, like they really were off on the hollypops for 2 weeks, didn't they?
Absolutely.
And they made, especially West Ham, they made very hard work of their FA Cup game against Kidderminster, wasn't it? And they were within minutes of going out until Declan Rice stepped up and got that equaliser, which would have been a massive shock. But yeah, I think West Ham, I think they'll have dusted themselves off in that FA Cup game, probably well needed. And I think they'll run out winners against Wofford. Thinking maybe 3-1.
I'm going to go for 2-1.
2-1, yeah. Next up, big game for you, Burnley versus Man United.
Yeah, big game, in this in this race for top 4. And these are the games we have to make sure that we tick off. Away at Burnley, tough fixture. We know it's not easy going there. Pitch won't be in great nick, never is. Sean Dyche will have these boys resolute as they were at the weekend. They lack a little bit of quality going forward. Obviously, the boy Vighorst started the weekend. He put in a good shift, but maybe didn't have the quality. And then Maxwell Cornet obviously looked like he was just back from his holidays, which he obviously was at the AFCON pretty much. So, yeah. I think they'll give a good account of themselves, Burnley, but I have to say, I just see this being one of them scrappy games that we just do enough to get over the line in,
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I mean, I heavily fancied United against Middlesbrough, and I don't know, you played really, really well, but you just didn't take your chances. You were just so blunt in front of goal, which was very unusual, especially for the people that are involved. But I think against Burnley, I know they'll be resolute and they'll try and drag you down into a dogfight. And obviously the big lad up front, the new lad, I think he'll cause a little bit of chaos in there, but I think between Maguire and Varane, they'll probably have enough to handle him, to be honest, because he's kind of a lone soldier, really, isn't he?
That should really play into Maguire's hands. Is that not the type of guy that Maguire should look reasonable against? A guy who's big and physical like that, where he can go and match him, Yeah. He's not a guy that's nippy. He's not a guy that's going to go past him. That for me should be food and drink for Maguire, I have to say.
Should be. But Maguire, we've seen in the past with bigger lads as well, Maguire, at times he can get a bit clumsy.
He can kind of be bullies and stuff like that. The one thing I will say is Burnley are a massive threat from set pieces, and we are not good at set pieces. For me, as good as he's been, and he's been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season, as good as David De Gea has been, it's still a glaringly obvious, failing of his in his game is coming and taking control of that box. We really need a goalkeeper that's going to come and just clean out everything in front of him and relieve a little bit of pressure and not have the ball. We're so sloppy with the first ball, and then we don't get to the second ball, and all of a sudden there's a knockdown or deflection that's in the back of the net. And you're just thinking it was all stoppable,
Yeah, it was tailor-made for him to come out and claim it when he doesn't. But I suppose with David De Gea as well, in terms of he's a fantastic keeper, there's no doubt about it. But in terms of stature, he's quite slight for a goalkeeper, isn't he? So he's not big and powerful. He is
tiny. I mean, I've my season tickets. I'm second row behind the goal of Stretford end. I don't think I'd be far away from being able to put my hands around his waist. That's how small the lad is. Now, listen, that's what makes him as agile as he is, and those cat-like qualities that we all marvel at when we're watching him. But I think we do need somebody that can be a bit more of a presence at times.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think when he runs out into a crowd, that's when you see the worst of him, because he hasn't got that physicality.
He tends not to get involved, and it's by not getting involved he causes us more trouble, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he came and got involved, it might be, it could be catastrophic at times, but at other times it might be okay, Yeah,
it can create indecision in the defence.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, if I'm one of them back four, I know he's not coming. If there's another keeper behind, maybe I'm thinking he might come, Whereas if I know it's David De Gea behind me, I should have ingrained in me, this guy's like Dracula, he's afraid of crosses. So he ain't coming off that line. So I need to deal with it. And I need to make sure that I'm the first one to get to it, Yeah.
So what are you going for here? 2-1 United?
I'll go for 3.
3-1?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving into Wednesday then, Man City versus Brentford.
Yeah, this should be a handy enough day at the office for City, shouldn't it?
Brentford are on a
little bit of a slide.
Yeah,
it's just getting a little bit sticky now for Brentford. I think, thankfully for them, they picked up enough points early on in the season that if they can just muddle their way through a few wins, and draws and stuff like that, but they're not going to look at games like Man City and think we need something out of this. This isn't the game that they want something out of. If you look at how Everton opened them up like a kind of Coke Zero at the weekend, you could probably see them struggling against City, who managed to open Fulham up pretty much at will when they felt like it. I know Fulham aren't maybe a Premier League team, but they're one of the better teams in that championship, and we've spoken about the quality and that and stuff like that. I'd see City getting over the line here, maybe 4-0.
Yeah, I'm thinking this game is done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think City will run out winners. So I can't see Brentford getting any out of this. They were so poor at the weekend.
I think Brentford will be plucky and they'll try and get involved and try and, do a little bit. But I just think there's just not
Quality.
enough quality there.
Quality of City will come through, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Norwich versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game for Palace, I think. Norwich, Dean Smith's really, really got Norwich playing well, you know. He's got them an awful lot more resolute at the back. They're much more difficult to beat. They're scoring the odd goal or two. Now, listen, I certainly don't think, you know, they're not going to rise from the dead here. I think it'd be unbelievable if he kept them up. I don't see it happening. But
2 wins on the bounce at the moment.
Yeah, you know,
and out of the bottom three should give them a bit of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when he took over the job from Daniel Farke, we all just assumed this was them getting ready for next year, the championship, and who they wanted in charge and stuff like that. But it hasn't been. He's done a great job so far. He really, really has. I still personally think they'll end up going down, but I think he'll do enough to get them to pick up points along the way. And this could be a tough night at the office for Palace. Palace for me are one of those teams that, you know, sometimes I look at them and I think, wow, what a side, you know, playing really good football. And then other days I just see them and they just falter a little bit, you know.
Yeah, the matches you expect them to run out winners is the ones they kind of trip up on. And it's when they play the bigger sides and you expect them to lose or get a draw, that's when they pull a win out of the bag.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an indifference for them, really, you know. I still say I'm going to go for a Palace win here.
I think I'll go 1-1. I'll go score draw.
Yeah. Tottenham versus Southampton, the governor against Conte.
Ralphie and Spurs. Yeah, listen, Spurs kind of Spurs turned Brighton over the weekend, didn't they?
Looked good as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a decent number on Brighton now, I have to say. You know, big plus for them having the boy Romero at the back in the side. Made them look a whole lot more solid. Yeah. Even with Davinson Sanchez and Ben Davies. You know, Brighton kind of flattered a little bit. They got the ball up to a certain area of the pitch and then just everything faltered for them. You know, a lot of their chances came through, you know, goal scorer Yves Bissouma, where he was letting balls go from 25 yards. And if that's all you have down, you know, if that was your main threat is 25 yarders against Spurs, who aren't great at the back, you've struggled to break them down, really. Kane took his goal very, very well. Yeah. You know, and looked like he was lively. Almost getting back. Yeah, lively. Yeah. And I think the addition of Son was big, and then obviously they got the boy Kulusevski and Bentancur to get minutes under their belt. I think Spurs will do this. I think Southampton will make it very, very tough, but I could see Spurs getting by here. You know, 3-1.
Interesting. I think this could be a draw. I think Southampton might be a little bit dogged, and I know they always raise their game against, you know, top 6, top 7 opposition.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
And I'm not sure whether Spurs can potentially carry the form of their cup game into the league game. They've been kind of a little bit blunt in the league a little bit at times. That dogged approach from Conte and stuff like that. And when you've got two teams that kind of have a little bit of a dogged approach, I think it could run out. I'm thinking a draw on this.
I'll take it.
Yep. Aston Villa versus Leeds.
Yeah. This is Villa all over for me, if I'm honest.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really is. You know, I suppose Leeds have started to turn the corner slightly in the last few weeks, haven't they? Before the break.
Yeah, they 2 wins and then a loss before the break.
Yeah, they picked up a couple of wins, you know, which obviously gives them a bit of breathing space and stuff like that.
Yeah. Something
we probably didn't see, which was a couple of clean sheets as well, which was the bounds of their victories and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's tried to change the soil slightly there. Bielsa, you know, I don't think necessarily he's reinvented the wheel with what he was doing, but they definitely look a bit tighter at the back and stuff like that. And he's tried to make them a little more solid and resilient and hard to beat. Obviously, when you've got players going forward, you know, Jack Harrison, Daniel James, Rafinha, stuff like that, you've always got the opportunity to nick a goal or two. I just think Villa have way too much going into this game for them.
Yeah, I think so too. In terms of quality and the players that they brought in and stuff like that, I think they'll have too much. But I think with Leeds as well, a lot of talk going on about Calvin Phillips at the moment, looking for a new contract. with yourselves, United sniffing around big time on him. And also Rafinha, a lot of talk about him again being linked to us heavily again.
We're not going near him.
Well, that's the talk that's circling at the moment, so it could be a bit disruptive. And also Bielsa's position as well, being spoke about a lot.
Calvin Phillips will go to West Ham to replace Declan Rice. Fact.
Interesting. I think any team that lays down 80, 90 million for Declan Rice must be off their absolute block.
No, he's super. He's absolutely super, I have to say.
Listen, he's a very, very good player. There's no doubt about it. But we're talking 90 bags here. 90 bags.
I know, but how much worth would he be than the 90 bags we paid for Paul Pogba?
Yeah, but like, you know, the sign of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, isn't it? I'm just saying.
No, I have to say, I would see Rice as a super signing for a lot of clubs, you know, Chelsea, United.
Well, I suppose we often say, I mean, it's not our 90 million that they're spending, but I mean...
it isn't a roundabout way because, you know, it's us buying the caps and the jerseys and the tickets. And
yeah.
But, listen, if you're telling me as a Leeds fan, I might lose Calvin Phillips. I've got a big problem. But as a West Ham fan, if you're telling me I might get him in to replace Declan Rice and still be up 40 to 45 million, it's not a bad day at the office.
Yeah. I'm thinking 50 million for Calvin Phillips is outrageous as well, but I'm just saying. Yeah, what are you going for with this Aston Villa? Yeah, 3-1, 3-0?
3-1, yeah.
Don't expect them to get a clean sheet?
No.
No, it's a 3-1. 3-1.
Yeah.
Right, then we move on Thursday. We're getting spoiled here. Like, we've a whole week of Premier League action from tomorrow. I don't think it even takes a break. I think the only night is Friday, and then we're right through to Sunday as well. So you're getting a midweek edition of this, folks, and you're going to be getting the weekend edition coming up without a shadow of a doubt. Thursday night. Big time. Listen, you should see the messages. All those little teary emojis and all. Wolves versus Arsenal.
This will be a tough game for Arsenal, I have to say.
Every game's a tough game for Arsenal, just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, when you're going into games and you know you don't have firepower, like you're going to struggle. When you know, like, what have you got up front? You've got Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah. You're a little bit short, aren't you? As good as the boys around them, as good as Saka, Odegaard, you know, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, as good as they are, you need a guy who's going to put the ball in the back of the net.
It's all well and good playing a good ball in if you don't have a guy on the end of it to finish it.
Yeah.
I was listening to Arsenal fans over the last few days, and it was interesting as well. You know, they got a hard time over being knocked out by Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, and they turned around and goes, well, there you go. They're after knocking out the current cup holders as well, so maybe they're not too bad. Now, whether that's a reflection on where they're at as a club, or whether, I don't know, whether we're not putting enough praise on Nottingham Forest. I know me and you have praised them heavily on the show ongoing.
Did we tip them to beat Leicester? No,
we did. And a matter of fact, I think we might have tipped them to beat Arsenal as well, just saying.
Yep.
I mean, they could be in a bet nearly. They could get to the final, depending on how these draws and all go. What are you going for in this? Are you going for a Wolves? Are you going for a draw?
I'm going score draw. Yeah, I'm going for a score draw. I'm going for 1-1. I think this is going to be tough for Arsenal, I have to say. I think Wolves have been in good form. Obviously, the weekend was a kind of, you know, getting minutes under their belt. I'm sure they'd love to still be in the FA Cup, but I think it's not a bad thing for Wolves that they can concentrate on the league and pick up points between now and the end of the season and see if they can finish as high up, maybe even grab that 7th spot, something like that, you know. Arsenal don't like playing Wolves. They struggle against Wolves quite a bit. I think this is 1-1 for me.
Oh no. I'm going to go for a Wolves win. Did I read somewhere today a little rumour going around that one Neto was spotted back in training again or something like that?
I didn't see that now.
Yeah, I think I read a glimmer of that somewhere. I seen something pop up earlier. Maybe I'm getting it wrong now.
You like the boy Neto?
Oh, exceptional player.
Yeah, and with the likes of Trincao, Daniel Podence,
Neves,
you know, Jimenez. Yeah, there's, you know, the boy Fabio Silva. There's a lot of talent there at Wolves. Good solid midfield. You know, they're very, very tough and resilient at the back, and a quality goalkeeper in Jose Sa.
Yeah, and that Wolves Gattuso, that Wolves Gattuso in the middle of the park, João Moutinho. He likes a now battle in the midfield that Arsenal mightn't have the heart for.
Your old pal Thomas Partey, we'll see how he gets on.
Be interesting, all right. I'm thinking he might kick lumps out of Shaka. Maybe that. Imagine that kicked off. Who would your money be going on? I'll put my money on Moutinho. Is he suspended still? Is he?
He might still be suspended.
Oh yeah, should they know FA Cup game? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, then I'm definitely I'm nailing on Wolves here. I'm gonna go Wolves 3-1.
3-1.
I'm going to go Wolves 3-1. I think they're going to come out of the blocks. I think this is where, as you said, this is the start of the season again. So I'm going to go Wolves 3-1. There's enough talent there to put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think there is for Arsenal. Lacazette with 3 goals so far. And Kedia is only scoring. I think he only scored in the League Cup, was it, or the FA Cup or something like that. Hasn't even got a league goal this season. I like the boy Martinelli, but if Arsenal are going to take any points away from here, they're going to be relying on the likes of Rowe or Saka to put the ball in from about 20 yards out. Yeah. And as you said, there's only so many of them that you can put away. Let's round out Thursday. Liverpool versus Leicester. Apparently, one Mo Salah arrived back in Liverpool today and has declared himself available for the Leicester game.
Yeah, I read that as well. I think this could be ever so slightly sticky, if I'm honest. And the only reason I think it might be sticky is I think after the beating they took at the weekend, there's got to be a little bit of a sense of pride that kicks in if you're Leicester here and you go, well, you know what, we can't go out and keep turning in performances like that. Because they've had some good performances this season and then they've just had some absolutely shocking ones.
Two wins and 6 though.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they can't make it very, very difficult, you know. And maybe when, you know, you've got somebody like Mo coming back in who didn't have a great tournament, let's be honest, you know.
Yeah, but he's carrying it on his back, isn't he? Bar the keeper.
He is, and he'll be delighted to get back to Anfield, you know. But I just think it's a lot. I just think I wouldn't be surprised to see them flounder a little bit.
I think they'll probably pop him on the bench, will they? I don't think they'll throw him back in because he's had a tough month. He's been carrying the Egyptian side on his own, hasn't he?
Yeah, they shouldn't put him straight back in for my money. Yeah. And, you know, I probably imagine seeing Diaz before him, but I know that's a stretch as well. Yeah, I don't know. I just think this could be sticky just because, and I called it obviously when they had the result, you know, when you've got the win in the Carabao, and I said I thought you might find it difficult because I said Rodgers will be up for it and stuff like that. I kind of see the same thing. Now, the big thing you have going for you obviously is this is at home. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Rodgers stick an awful lot behind the ball and see the Leicester lads, you know, grind their teeth and make stuff very, very hard. And if they can nick a goal, it could be a tough night for Liverpool. I'm gonna go 1-1 here.
I'm gonna go Liverpool 3-1. I think they have a lot of options back there. I think they're after getting a lot of players back. I think more or less nearly everyone is back. Harvey Elliott showed at the weekend again the kind of exceptional talent he is as a young lad. I think he could be the difference maker in the team at times and unlocking stuff. Trent, where I thought he was a little bit hit and miss at the weekend, but he did show that bit of quality. And when you've Jota up front, he can create chaos there. And it'd be interesting to see Luis Diaz. I just wonder if he'll stick with Firmino. I thought Firmino was pretty poor at the weekend in the FA Cup game. He was very, very deep at times and stuff like that. Now maybe it's a case of he was trying to create more himself to get things going. But I just think when you're up against the likes, no disrespect to Cardiff, but when you're up against the likes of Cardiff, if Firmino was playing that deep, what are we doing? What are we doing in midfield if he's having to pick up the ball that deep? But be interesting to see. Obviously, Salah there is an option on the bench. Will obviously, you know, boil them. I don't think he'll start him. I think he does need a rest and save him for the weekend, maybe. But I think we'll have enough for Leicester. I think there's problems there. Listening to Rodgers' interviews and stuff like that, he doesn't seem happy at all. He went in on the players big time at the weekend. Big time, which is never a good sign of a squad and a manager singing off the same hymn sheet. And I think there could be problems there. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next month or so if there's a parting of the sea there, let's say. I think there's problems there. I think there's problems there. Well, listen, pleasure as always doing this Premier League preview. We will be back later in the week with the weekend Premier League preview and beat the bookie. No doubt about it. Indeed. So check it out. Let us know your picks for the midweeks. Drop them down there in the comments. As always, we're over there on YouTube, so hit that subscribe and bell notification button. Keep the channel growing on a daily basis now at this stage, getting stronger and stronger all the time. We do have those targets that we have to hit where we want to get to, and we will be back with you again real soon. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, brother.